All right, I'll call the February 4th DRB meeting to order. First is agenda changes. Everybody can review the minutes of January 21st.
I just have a couple places. Third page. I didn't understand. Okay. Where it's the paragraph that starts with Greg W. at the very end said
What page are we on?
3 says Quinn property has substantial build out. I would say potential and zero allocation, right?
Where are you?
The very last sentence. Quinn property has I guess it would start with the Quinn property
Oh,
has
here it is.
substantial build
We
out.
may on different pages.
Oh,
Yeah,
well,
Okay,
okay.
you're down here, I
It's
got
the
you.
third paragraph from the bottom,
Third
or
paragraph.
fourth.
Fourth paragraph from the bottom, right
Fourth
there.
one up from the bottom.
Oh, okay, all right.
Just say the Quinn property has substantial build out potential and zero allocation. And I didn't understand when the first, Alex W. said opt out would be on a project by project basis. What's that mean? I didn't understand that. Opt out from what?
That'd be an opt-out from wanting a allocation. That's all I can think of.
I don't understand that.
Why don't we just strike that entire
Okay,
sentence?
Right, Don,
okay,
How about,
I don't know what it means either.
okay.
so how about just simply Alex said the select board would put allocation
Okay,
funds.
that's fine, okay, do that. And then on the next page, the next to last paragraph,
We're on the next to last page.
well, I'm on the last page now. John L. asked if it still needs to be done there or can be moved. Can we just say John L. asked if the upgrade needs to be done in the current location or can it be moved?
Yeah.
Yeah, just to make this. Okay, that's it.
Move to approve as amended.
Second.
Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, up next is Jim Donovan and Patricia O'Donnell for a sketch plan review for a 3-lot subdivision.
Welcome back.
Well, thank you. Short presentation, or? Okay, well, I guess I figured the first thing to say is why are we here?
Why are you?
Because you were here before.
We were here before. As we started to pursue that further, as you recall, we were trying to do affordable housing there. We tried to work with Champlain Housing Trust, various other entities. We're not able to find any way to make that affordable housing work.
This is on lot 3.
And that is on lot 2. No, I'm sorry, lot
One.
1,
Oh, lot
as
one.
proposed now.
Yeah.
That area where the current mobile home is.
Yeah,
That's what we were focusing on. Lot 3 was for the future.
yeah.
And so we were trying to decide, oh, okay. Thank you. I'll try not to poke anybody with this light.
Yes.
So we were trying to decide how to proceed when we had some interest in actually just purchasing lot 1. And we said, well, since we're having a hard time and we really weren't necessarily interested in just creating condos that are just normal old condos or units or rentals or whatever, we decided to pursue that, and looking at it further, decided it probably made more sense rather than try to revise that one and come back to just start over with a brand new sketch plan that's just pretty simple and clean. So that's why we're back. So pretty much things are fairly similar, and I'll make sure this is, yeah, okay. So we have lot 1, we decided to join what used to be lot 1 and lot 2 into one, based on the comments we got at our first hearing saying that it was wet all the time. We knew that it was wet, but we weren't sure how wet. Decided it really wouldn't work for ag or farming or a small community garden, so we just said, let's just combine it together into one and not try to do anything with that. And we weren't necessarily interested at this point with the bonuses anymore, so we didn't need to pursue that. And at the moment, because we're not sure about this, and it was in the future last time, it's still in the future on this one, we took out the subdivision line between those, assuming that this probably will still remain undeveloped.
In the near term.
Well, pretty much, hopefully all the time, that the hillside, that steep hillside that goes up, that portion of the forested area, and the development would be, as we'd shown last time, sort of focused over here in our master plan, as previous. So there's really no change in that thinking. But again, that's for some time in the future. And then lot 2 basically stays the way it is at this point overall. The regulations say that we have 6, we have the potential for 6 units.
Actually, it's 8.
Is it 8 now?
I found it.
According to the staff
I
report,
found
yeah.
Because I saw your 8 and I said, well, I
I
wasn't sure
found
that
a
was right.
calculation error.
Fine, because I've been working on 6, and I figure if it's 8, fine, but I'd rather, it's easier to go up than to go down. So we were thinking we would allocate 1 more unit to lot 2, because there are 3 units right now in the existing farmhouse, and 1 unit here, and then 1 extra one here, and 1 extra one in lot 2. So we probably would allocate 2 extra ones there and 2 extra ones there,
If 8 is the count.
if 8's the count, and who knows whether they would ever happen or not. And one of the comments was to look at having a master plan. So if you're interested, we put something together really quickly just to show where the I'm sorry, I'm blanking on the word, the developable area, the
Yep. No, that's owners.
for each of the 3 lots, where access would be from there, and showing that because we're kind of in an interim, we could still provide what's on the official map, the current official map that talks about a riparian park here and a road going through there, or the new one that no longer shows either of those, but shows the path over here, and I think both of them showed a small little rest area over here. Both of those would still be possible. They were in the last one, they'd still be possible in this one. If you were interested in seeing that, it's an 11 by 17, and I made enough copies that people could look at it if you want, or we can save it for the future, whatever your preference would be. And I think that's pretty much it. I'm seeing what other questions you might
If you
have.
have the drawing now, now's the time to provide it.
Okay, if you're willing to look at it, sure.
I'm not sure, but we potentially could close the public hearing after today, and we wouldn't be able to accept any more pictures, so. I'll pass it around.
Okay, thank you.
So the extra, or the way the distribution of lots for 1 and 2, that was just for the lots that were available for 1 and 2. Lot 3 is still, has a certain number of developable lots, and that's not being talked about at this point?
I'll say just from the regulations, lots 1 and 2 would be in the R1 zoning district. Lot 3 is in the RR1 zoning district. So what you have with lots 1 and lots 2 is a base density of 2 dwelling units per acre minus the areas that are in the stream setbacks. And as far as lot 3 goes, being a lot that's in the RR1 in the municipal water and sewer district, it would be 1 acre zoning or through a PUD with clustered development. which probably would be the case, because you wouldn't want to try to break this out into 1 acre lots, especially where a big portion of the property is not developable. You can do a lot better with the PUD, and that's probably the way in which the applicant will go in the future. But for this particular one, and Jim, Pat, just tell me if, confirm this, basically at this point in time, you're not looking to propose anything that is on lot 3?
Yeah, pretty much it. The only thing we would anticipate that it would be a PUD in the future. And so the master plan, even though we only need it for lots 1 and 2, technically we included lot 3, shows those areas. And for reference, I don't have lots of copies of it, but this is what was the sketch plan that was approved. And the master plan was for lot 3. Basically, there's no change to that, and we've just highlighted those developable areas.
So the drawing
In
that we
the map.
passed out, these 2 areas are the developable zones for lot 3.
Right. So there's development here, here, and here, and assuming that there would be access to them, but we didn't show a large developable corridor there. And we didn't show anything crossing the wetlands, because there's wetlands that come through here, they kind of go back up into the property there, and then this whole area here is wetland, and this whole area here is steep slopes and forest. So that would be the area for lot 3. It does show a sort of a sketch of what might be happening for lot 1, anticipating that there'd be a larger house. And what is currently, the thinking is that there might be a bed and breakfast there, which is allowable and allowed use, and I don't think it needs a sketch plan approval.
Actually, it's correct. As I understand from what you've mentioned to me, the plan would be to remove the trailer, to build to build a new home over there,
Right.
and to have the home be a bed and breakfast. Now, granted, the bed and breakfast would require additional allocation,
Right.
which, if it's done in the near future rather than the far future, would just simply be, that would go through the select board for the allocation. If you wait a little while, it actually will come back to here, because the DRB, according to select board, will have an opportunity with allocations later on.
Okay,
But
Eric actually said
excluding that,
it would just go to him.
right now, I'm just saying, if you wait a year or two, it might change. But for right now, yes, it would go to Eric Bailey, our utilities director, and it would just simply be on that need, building permits for the house and for the bed and breakfast.
Right. So because it's a master plan, if it's successful, they might expand it to actually be an inn, which then would have to come back for site plan, and it's a little bit larger. So we showed a second building on this master plan.
Well, this is, you have a different master.
That's the old one, but that shows,
This is the one we handed out.
Right, you have it on this one.
right, that's the old one that just shows potential up here. This master plan is different, because this one showed the larger 10-unit development.
Multiple units.
Whereas now we're just showing a single house and possibly a second building. Again, though, we're remaining with the same concepts. Parking would be in the rear of the lot, not up near the front. One thing we are doing is that we had looked at the potential, because of the way the grades work, we hadn't explored it significantly, but depending on the grades, we might be able to bring a sewer easement down here and try to
This is for lot 3.
dig a tube underneath, not dig a tube, but basically dig underneath the...
To a directional bore?
Yes, to take the sewer down so you can have gravity feed down this way. So we would grant an easement across lot 2 to lot 3. In the event that that might work, they would be able to bring the sewer that way rather than have a pump station come out this way to CVU Road. The master plan also shows there is a small potential building area in the location of the two barns that are now on Lot 2. That there's a wetland along the back end, so we've got a 50-foot setback in from those wetlands, and we have a 10-foot setback from the road for the R1 the R1 district. So that small area is showing up on Lot 2 in the event that that extra unit or 2 units, depending on whatever happens there, is decided to be actually used. The setback areas for Lot 1 basically show up, and they actually show up on our plan as well. They're the setbacks from the wetlands and the streams here, they're the setbacks from the wetlands there, and then there'd be a 10-foot setback along this property line and a 10-foot setback from the front. Because the lot is fairly tight as it is, we were suggesting that as the building envelope. That's the word I couldn't think of before. So that would be the building area for Lot 1.
Which is outlined.
This area is Lot 2, and they're outlined in like this color. And if this works, we can also supply a much better, larger, more readable copy, but if everybody agrees with the concepts.
Well, this is sketch plan, so.
Yeah, that's why we're just showing you a sketch.
In the nature of the lot lines,
I'm sorry, pardon?
the nature of the lot lines, I didn't know, it's a little bit of an irregular lot for
The
the.
rhyme or reason?
Well,
Yeah,
right,
is that because of the?
this is the
districts?
zoning line.
The districts, that's, okay.
Yeah, we made the lot line along the district line.
Okay,
We figured that's the simplest way to do it, is just have one all in one district and one all in the other
Okay.
district. So that's why it is a little bit of an irregular line.
okay.
So what was the rhyme or reason for the irregular line in the zoning district?
I can't
Anybody
answer
know?
that one.
Is
I think
it a
follows the brook.
geographical
Yeah,
point?
Follows the
I think it
brook.
follows the brook.
Yeah. There's a
You know, it
brook.
follows Patrick Brook down through that area. So basically, Patrick Brook is the
Yeah,
dividing
okay.
line.
I
The
get it.
spot
Between
where
the two
it
lots.
connects to Mechanicsville, is that, I know it says no access, but could it ever be an access? Is that where it's really deep, steep there, or it
It's
can't?
it's pretty steep,
Okay,
and we'd be happy to put a restriction on saying you can't get an access there. That retaining wall is there, that was put in
is
when the
that where the
sidewalks went
retaining wall
in.
is? That's what I wondered, okay.
Yep, and on the other side of it, it's pretty wet, and the wetland is, almost that whole side right there is wet. So trying to put a road through there really would not be a good idea. And then you also have to cross Patrick Brook. So it's just full of problems, and we're just happy to say, no, you're just not gonna do that.
Okay.
So for Lot 2, does it make sense to assume 2 more units there? I mean, given all the constraints that you can use very little of that lot because of the setbacks and whatnot. I mean,
Well,
I don't know, short of taking down a barn,
That's,
Well, that's
yes.
what it would be.
Yeah.
You'd have to
Yeah.
take down one of the barns
Yeah.
in order to put up either one or a 2-family unit in that spot.
okay.
Does he have to allocate certain units to each lot, or can it just be as a PUD, it can be?
It changes ownership.
He would have, yeah.
You want, somebody has to know who has what.
Right, otherwise, if you didn't do that, if you go by the calculation based on 2 units per acre that's not in the stream setback, it doesn't even come to 3, so without any type of bonuses and such, this is the applicant's opportunity to kind of divvy it out. And you can move it around a little bit in, looking at it as the whole. It just becomes a challenge for these 2 properties if they want to do something more based on the density bonuses, but my gut feeling looking at this, and obviously considering the constraints, the wetlands and so forth, and the narrowness or lack of depth of the properties, that would be a very difficult thing to do.
Right. And a lot of the bonus that we were potentially looking at was seeing if the town was interested in adding that on to the park up here that is in the official map, or the future official map. But now when we're subdividing it this way, we're sort of taking that opportunity away. So
Maybe I should put this
There's a
one.
lot of the opportunities for the bonuses are going away with this subdivision.
So if I heard correctly, so for lot one, we'd be talking about the current unit, the trailer, and then two additional? But it would be 3 units?
3 units, yes.
Up to
Okay.
3 units.
Up to 3 units.
Okay, so if it becomes a bed and breakfast, is each rental a unit?
No, it's just considered a single-family use,
But there's gonna be a lot more traffic than a single-family
They
use.
come into site plan.
Actually, bed and breakfasts don't come in site plan.
Oh, inns do.
Inns do.
Sorry.
But bed and breakfasts, one, it's an owner-occupied type use, and 2, you're limited to basically 4 rooms on that, or 4 units on that.
For beyond the owner.
Right, and it
Owner's
has to
rooms.
be, and it also has to be in the same building as the residence. So if you put a unit outside of that, I mean, outside of the fact, you can still probably go for an accessory apartment. But if you're doing something beyond that, that's actually if you're doing several units on a structure that's not connected to the, doing more than 4 units, either which way, then you need to go for an inn, which would then require conditional use.
In site plan?
And site plan, yes.
Do bed and breakfasts have automatic limits on stay, so it doesn't turn into a 6-month, 9-month rental? Or, I mean,
It's a little bit of a gray area, but yes, if all of a sudden someone's living in a bed and breakfast and they register their kids for the schools, you know that something is up.
I guess I'm just wondering, I mean, would that be a zoning violation if, I mean,
I
or,
would think so, yes.
or is there no limit to that?
Because then in essence, and that's kind of, and it's funny, it's a conversation that has become very relevant, especially with the Airbnbs and such that are going on. If you can actually have an accessory apartment that you Airbnb, but you can't take an extra second or third accessory apartment and then turn that into, well, I should say second or third Airbnb and turn that into an accessory apartment. A bed and breakfast, an inn, is for short-term rentals. And I'm not exactly sure of the exact number of days. I don't think you could spend more than
I mean,
a
I could
month
see,
or something like
a
that.
week, 2 weeks would, you want to spend up here for the, skiing or whatever.
Right.
My concern, I guess, is that what's supposed to be a short-term inn turns into a 4-unit rental space.
And then if
and
it
then
became
what?
something like that, then I think the concern you have using it in a different particular way, and I think the units for inns or bed and breakfasts aren't set up for long-term living. They may not have a kitchen or something like that. So they wouldn't be set up for long-term units.
My apartment in Toledo, or my neighbor's apartment in Toledo, wasn't set up for 10 people to live there either, but they did. So, things
Yes,
things
if somebody is
happen.
living in, and again, I'm not sure of the exact amount, but if somebody is living there clearly beyond what is typical of a bed and breakfast, then that would be a zoning violation.
Okay.
It'd be expensive too.
Depends on the deal you make.
Board members have any other questions? Anybody here from the public? Alright, I'll make a motion to close the public hearing and direct staff to decision of approval.
Second.
Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks. I'll get you a digital and I'll actually have a version.
Sure.
Okay.
perfect, thank you.
Do you know now or should I submit it with the final?
Actually, if you can just send me the PDF. I've got this, and that should be fine.
Okay, I'll send you the PDF. Okay.
All right, up next is other business.
We have an extension request for Peter and Helen Rosenblum. They did a 2-lot subdivision on Partridge Hill. And this was the one, if you remember, they talked about how they would be going to Florida. So when the hearing was closed, they said, we are going to need some extra time to finish this up.
I moved grant 6-month extension.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, we have a draft decision for Milbank and Stahl.
So Mitch, what are your concerns about conclusion 5 and order 2?
It's just simply under the regulation. Let's start this way. When this subdivision was approved, there wasn't the same requirement for building envelopes that you have now.
Right. Yeah.
It is in the regulations, and the question is, do you want to require a building envelope? Do you want to make some type of a statement as far as maintaining, not building on some of the steep slopes? Wasn't sure how you wanted to approach that or not approach it, just with the reason as you why you wouldn't want to.
Is it possible to throw the plat up so we can, I don't remember what that,
Sure.
because one of the lots is being combined with another lot, right?
Yeah.
This is the one, yeah,
It was like an adjustment to taking a third.
Right.
Or get rid of a third.
right.
Yeah.
Or not get rid of a third.
Well,
Development for the one lot, I thought.
Yeah, no development, but, so there's, so which lot are we talking about that's gonna be undeveloped when the end, at the end of this?
Lot 2.
All right.
Lot 2?
Lot 1 has a house.
Okay.
Lot 2 has approval to actually build, and although it would need to get a wastewater permit from the state now if they wanted to. But there isn't at this point a restriction as to where Lot 2 can build upon. Lot 3, which was not part of this application, is required to come back to the DRB if they want to develop it.
On lot 2?
Lot
No,
3.
Lot 3.
Lot 3.
So-
Lot 2 can be developed, just that there is no building envelope stating the limits as to where. They're pretty limited as it is because, as you can see on the eastern part of the property, there is a stream and a stream setback that happens to be there, and some steep slopes that come up on that. And if you look at where the right-of-way happens to be, and actually I can show it to you on a resource plan
Yeah.
that would actually show it a bit better.
Yep.
The resources that, and I'll zoom in a little bit on this. Here, let's, because this is the proposed lot 2, and you've got steep slopes that are here, some steep slopes in the stream that's over here. So there is an area over here that you could, this is basically where, if we wanted to keep out of the steep slopes and the, well, I'll just say stream setback, that the applicant can build.
So, that's where the right of way is, right?
Yeah.
The right-of-way is over here. And
Oh, there's room between, what's that yellow,
there happens to be a trail, priority trail, that they're not really affecting. Some future development that they may want to come back and get some easements for.
I see.
It looks like it goes right through the middle of the only developable spot
It
on the
doesn't have to
lot.
be exactly there.
Is it a gap or a trail? It's a gap, isn't it?
It says it's a gap, I think.
Priority trail
Yeah.
gaps.
What they mean by a gap is that they have other trails
Right.
that are on
Both on,
Right.
missing a link or some sort,
Mhm.
something they'd want.
Yes.
So to my mind, there doesn't seem to be any public interest in requiring a building envelope, but I think we should require them to build consistently with avoiding the steep slopes, and just say any,
Well, his wording is fine then. That's basically what he
That's,
says.
that's
Yeah,
what
I
I was
mean-
trying to get at.
yeah, I mean, we've got a couple of options here, yeah. I think at least in conclusion 5,
I think it reads okay.
Just drop the or and
Trying
from
to-
there
Yeah,
on.
drop the or at the end,
are we talking about conclusion 5 now?
yeah.
Yeah.
So in other words, get rid of basically, let's see,
Just stop after,
oops,
This development has
oh, okay,
potential.
you're right.
you know what, let's do it this way.
Why don't we just stop after the first sentence?
Oh, you could do that too.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna do, I just seem
Yeah,
to be
and
having a
then-
problem with this
and
thing.
then-
And then the
Order.
order,
The order can be don't build on steep slopes.
yeah, the order shall just strike the second sentence.
Yeah, that's what I tried to do was,
Yeah, good.
okay, so. Then shall place a note
God,
on
you're
the
editing in
survey
real
stating-
time.
Anybody else have any other changes you'd like?
I had nothing beyond that. So I would move to approve as amended, or as is being amended.
I'll second it. Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
What else do we have?
We have news and announcements, I think.
Okay,
Yep.
a few, actually a bunch of little things here. It's fine, put it in for the mention in the last hearing, but I forgot to say something about it. Just an update on the Frost subdivision. I don't know if I mentioned that. Bob hadn't actually appealed it to environmental court. And then after a whole bunch of discussions,
Bob, the
Neighbor.
the
The
neighbor.
Yeah.
and then
At the
after a
top of
bunch
the
of
dirt road.
discussions, he ended up withdrawing that he's going to, and he will be allowed to reinstate his appeal after final if he still has certain concerns. But basically, that adjudication delayed the 6-month expiration on the hearing.
So that was a sketch,
That was a sketch.
and that can be appealed by a neighbor?
Yes.
Not if, I guess I wasn't aware of that.
His concern was that the board actually provided the applicant two different options that could still utilize utilize the public right-of-way that he has been using
No, I
as a driveway.
understand, I'm just a little surprised that the rules allow an appeal from a sketch as opposed to a final.
So what was his, what was his main concern?
He wanted to make sure that the access
Use Town Road 3.
would not utilize the Booton right-of-way access that he's using for a driveway. So the only real impact is if you don't hear us
Not
talking
in my
about
backyard.
an extent, yeah. If it's not something that is, if you don't hear us talking about needing a 6-month extension from them, it's because they've been adjudicated and their clock has only just recently started.
Okay, stop during that time. So, I mean, is that even a winnable appeal? I mean, it's a public road, it's a town road.
It's just a roadblock.
No, he can lose.
Somebody throwing up a roadblock, I wouldn't think it'd be winnable.
Okay, I didn't think my take was that he had no
Drop dead
claim
loser.
to controlling that road, at least, that section of that, so, okay.
Did he withdraw, or did the court choose to stay it? Like, did he do it voluntarily, or did they say we're not gonna
He did it voluntarily after, how should we say, strong encouragement to this is not the right time. Go see. It was because after a lot of these appeals, they usually go for they encourage mitigation, and they said this may be complete and moot by the time we reach final. And they even just said, look, we're going to be nice. We're not going to. If you have to come back for final, we won't charge any more, fees and such, to actually do the appeal, if you're willing to withdraw this for now and see what happens in final.
Yep.
So, anyway, that was that particular one.
Yes, we look forward to seeing that final.
There's actually 2 applicants for the second DRB alternate position. So just letting you know that's actually going to be talked about at the next select board meeting.
I was thinking we were still missing one, but I was looking at the paper, they were going through all the town offices that had openings, and DRB wasn't one of them. I'm
Planning
like,
commission wasn't either.
okay.
And there
There
is
was
still
supposed to
one,
be.
and to our fans out there, there's still one opening on the planning commission, if anybody's interested. We've got a new clock. I hope it's a good enough size.
Very nice.
Sweet.
Does it work?
I think that's the right time. Yeah, it's the right time. Matches my phone clock. We've got the chairs and these new chairs. Joe Fallon's office. It's a gift from them as they were moving out.
Oh, is he retiring?
Oh, he's retired.
Oh, retired.
They're emptying the
I
office?
told you they were used.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, he's selling the property. And,
What?
Were they,
Couldn't tell.
is it from
Slightly
design, or
used.
is they just moving elsewhere?
it was purchased by a person in Moncton whose name is just Brendan.
They need cushions. They need little
I
cushions.
can't think of the person's name offhand.
Telephone book.
But he was using that particular office and then decided to
A book? Telephone book?
not to be able to do it out of his Moncton office. And his name just popped out of my head. Probably come back to me in a little bit. So just want to informal. Are the chairs good or not?
Yeah.
They're a little bit low.
Teensy weensy bit, but.
Because we can pull back the old chairs if you want, or we can keep these.
I can't remember what the old chairs were.
Kind of like those things in the very back, they're pretty basic.
No, they were like folding chairs, but they were cushioned.
Actually,
chairs.
we've got one of the ones that are over here.
Yeah.
That's the ones. that-
These are great.
So the armrests are good, so when it gets a little, contentious or crazy, then you don't necessarily fall out of your chair, so, yeah, it helps keep you in line. So
Grab
that's
on.
good.
All right, and another thing, a little bit of a sad thing to mention. Kate has told us that she's only going to do this for a little while longer until we get a replacement. She's got. She became.
You can bring them. I used to bring my kids to planning commission meetings.
Yeah, they would have a meltdown this late at night, unfortunately.
Well, Holly was here and she used to entertain them and give them crayons and things to draw with. And
Yeah.
yeah.
No chance we can get a clone?
Yeah, really.
Okay.
And we appreciate you staying until we find a replacement. We're not looking very
You
hard.
will still see me around.
5 or 6 years, we ought to have one.
You will still see me around for sure.
Good.
I'm gonna be still on the Conservation Commission and so.
We'll see you actually over here instead
Yes,
of over there.
Okay.
yes.
All right.
And just want to mention the next meeting, we've got BlackRock's Haystack Crossing project. And that's going to be the only thing on the agenda.
Are we meeting upstairs?
No, I think if we, being that's the only one that's there, I may push this back a little bit so we can get a fourth row over here. And I think we're going to be fine
This
as
is
far.
this is preliminary.
This is preliminary,
Correct.
yes. Although it is a pretty comprehensive application, obviously, 176 dwelling units, 50 of which are congregate housing.
And how much allocation do they have at present time?
They have enough allocation for what they're applying for.
The whole thing?
They do, although part of it is in essence, a borrow from the new well, which they anticipate will be there. And if there's an issue with that, but they have the allocation
So
from the
did they
select
have
board.
did they have a definitive phasing plan for building?
Yes, they do. They have it listed as for what would be the first part and what would be the second part based on the full well being there. And they have the allocation approval from the select board.
So this is preliminary. The last time we talked to him was just an impromptu, this is kind of what we're thinking. What do
Just
you guys think?
preliminary
Should we go
sketch.
forward? Well, that's what I was,
They got a sketch because they appealed our sketch denial.
right, but then they
Got approval by the court.
changed it significantly. I mean, based on what they showed us, what do you think of this, the whole phasing plan, and even within the phases, it's been restructured quite a bit. So I mean, does that sketch plan still hold?
I think the master plan hasn't changed that much.
I wasn't here when they
I mean,
came.
changes happen between sketch and preliminary.
Right. There are some changes, and even
Question
from
is-
the application has even changed a bit through our review, which we've been looking at it for already a few months, and just working out some of the bugs that happen to have been in there. And we think most of the bugs have been pretty much taken out, and it's ready for review.
So you think we're gonna get through the whole thing next meeting, or are we thinking that it will need more than one meeting?
It probably will need more than one meeting, but I'm not gonna say it can't be done hypothetically in one meeting, but it's probably a little too big for one. But we're gonna try to make sure that all of the information is available as soon as possible. We are recommending that there be an independent traffic review, so it probably will need, just simply on that, a continuance to a future meeting. And, well, you'll be getting a staff report and so forth, but it will be the entire meeting, and even if we get some 20 people or so here, it could fit in this room. And with new chairs, it's hopefully a little more comfortable.
Okay.
I'm a little skeptical there may not be more turnout than you're anticipating. But
Well-
maybe I'm completely wrong.
Well, we'll see. We'll see how many people actually come, and if we can, but being that's going to be the only thing that's going to be on the agenda. And if not, we'll have some extra chairs and we'll fit people in as best we can. That said, the meeting after that, we also have 2 other applications as well. Gary Fournier is going to come in for his final, and we have a condition use for a farm cafe, Red Wagon Plants. And there's also 2 other applications, one of which I may put on that agenda as well. So things are going to get a little bit more, there'll be a little bit more in going on.
And do you have any idea when Brett may be back before us, since I
I
saw his
have an
application landed?
application. I have an application
Yeah.
from him.
Is that gonna take months for you to process, or?
They need some additional things. Actually, they need quite a few additional things.
So spring, summer?
I would say probably a couple of months. They'll probably need to get everything together. I mean, and also for us to be able to schedule them.
All right, I
Move to adjourn, sir?
Yeah.
Are we off?
We're